Listening. William Shakespeare. Reading and critical thinking. King Lear. William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born on April 23, 1564 in Stratford in the Midlands of England. His father was a glove maker. William went to school when he was 7, but he had to leave at the age of 14 because his family had financial problems. When he was 18, Shakespeare married a farmer's daughter called Anne Hathaway. William and Anne had 3 children. After that, no one is sure what Shakespeare did. But in 1592, he left his family and went to London to become an actor. Soon he started writing poems, and one of his longest poems, Venus and Adonis, was so successful that it made him famous. If he hadn't found a patron at this time, he wouldn't have become a famous writer. By 1594, Shakespeare was a well-known actor and writer who wrote and performed for a theatre group called the King's Men. Shakespeare had started writing in 1588, and for the next 17 years, he wrote 2 plays a year. Many of these were performed at the Globe Theatre near the River Thames in London. His 5 famous plays are probably Romeo and Juliet, written in 1596, A Midsummer Night's Dream in 1596, Hamlet in 1601, King Lear in 1606, and Macbeth in 1606. Shakespeare part-owned the Globe Theatre and made a lot of money from it. He had enough money to buy a very large house in Stratford, and he retired there in 1611. Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616. King Lear. Lear is the king of Britain. When he's old, he decides to give his country to his 3 daughters, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. But before he does this, he asks them to tell him how much they love him. 2 of the daughters, Goneril and Regan, say they love him much more than they really do. The 3rd daughter, Cordelia, doesn't say very much. She doesn't know how to describe her love for her father. Lear is angry with Cordelia and gives all his money and land to Goneril and Regan. Cordelia is sent away and goes to live in France, where she marries the king. Old Lear soon discovers that he has made a terrible mistake. It's soon obvious to him that Goneril and Regan said that they loved him only so that they could have his money and his country. The truth is that they do not love their father at all. Lear wanders around the country with his last 2 good friends until they arrive in Dover. Cordelia hears what has happened to her father. She comes to England with soldiers to try to save him and to take his country back from her 2 sisters. English soldiers arrive in Dover and beat the French. Cordelia and Lear are captured and taken to prison. Here, Cordelia tells her father how much she really loves him. Language notes. Do and make. In English we have certain words that go with do and certain verbs that are used with make. And here are some of them. We say, do a job do a sport, do damage, do homework, do housework, do shopping, do a quiz, do a sum, do an exercise. But we say, make a decision, make a suggestion, make money, make a noise, make a mistake, make a discovery, make a promise, make a loss, make a profit. Now, answer the following questions. 1. Why did Shakespeare have to leave school at the age of 14? He had to do so because his family had financial problems. 2. Where were many of Shakespeare's plays performed? They were performed at the Globe Theatre near the River Thames in London. 3. Name some of Shakespeare's famous plays. Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Hamlet, King Lear, and Macbeth. 4. How did Shakespeare make a lot of money? He part-owned the Globe Theatre and made a lot of money from it. 5. What did King Lear decide to do when he was old? He decided to give his country to his 3 daughters, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. 6. What did Lear want to know before he gave his money and land to his daughters? He wanted to know how much they loved him. 7. What did King Lear do to his daughter Cordelia, and why? He didn't give her any of his money and land, and sent her away to France because she didn't tell him how much she loved him. 8. What did King Lear find out about Goneril and Regan? He found out that they loved him only so that they could have his money and his country, and they didn't love him at all. Choose the correct answer. Last year, Ali didn't do, make, get, or play much money as he was still a student. 2. He left, spent, lived, or lent on money from his parents when he got married. 3. 2 soldiers were killed and the rest were captured, got, put, or kidnapped. 4. This is an easy question. The answer is done, made, public, or obvious. 5. I'm not good at doing, working, playing, or making quick decisions. Now, check your answers. Last year, Ali didn't make much money as he was still a student. He lived on money from his parents when he got married. 2 soldiers were killed and the rest were captured. This is an easy question. The answer is obvious. I'm not good at making quick decisions. 6. Simon always wins, beats, earns, or gains me at tennis. 7. A patron, poet, performer, or porter is someone who supports or gives money to an organization or an artist. 8. Mark didn't do, work, make, or take some sums in his homework. 9. The date at, in, by, or on which Shakespeare was born and died was unusual. 10. We spent the morning wandering, visiting, or paying around the old part of the city. Now, check your answers. Simon always beats me at tennis. A patron is someone who supports or gives money to an organization or an artist. Mark didn't do some sums in his homework. The date on which Shakespeare was born and died was unusual. We spent the morning wandering around the old part of the city. Thanks for listening. With Nafham, learn easily and simply.